thank you guys so much for joining us. I have here with me the one, the only, Mack Kumar. And the whole reason we wanted to start this little show is to first of all gain some insight from some of the front runners in our local gaming industry, and also to create some original content for our gaming community here in Fiji. And so we hope that this would be the first of many episodes where we talk about everything gaming. And so in this episode, we're going to start off with none other than The Last of Us Part 2, the sequel to The Last of Us that was released 7 years ago. It's finally come out, and I believe the hype is just, it's everyone's jumping on that hype train right now. And so I have here with me Mac, who will be able to share some of his insights after having played the game for a couple of days now. I believe he's well and truly into the story of the Last of Us, and it received some really awesome reviews. So without further ado, I'm going to ask this awesome gentleman some questions and just pick his brains on his thoughts of the game. All right, bro. Bull of Inaka to you, joining us all the way from Hawaii. My first question this afternoon is, so it's been out for a couple of days now, already received near perfect review scores from prominent gaming critics, but what's your take on it so far?
It has like a 94 on Metacritic, 107 reviews. The critics love it. A lot of tens. My take on it is, well, first of all, reviews are just subjective personal opinions on a piece of medium. But I agree with most of it. I read most of it. IGN, GameSpot, Easy Allies, and whatever you think of the narrative, people will have different opinions on it. But mechanically, narrative, performances, and all of that, graphic fidelity, I think it's well deserved. I think the high scores are well deserved. Everybody's gonna take something different away from the game after they play it. Some will love it or hate it, but critically, I think it deserves the reviews.
Right. Okay. Next question. Without releasing any spoilers, does it pick up right from where the first game left off?
It's kind of like a yes and no answer, because we've already before they discussed it before the game release that it does take place around 4 to 5 years after the end of The Last of Us 1. But there are moments where the game goes back and fills in the gaps. What happened? The Last of Us 2 events very much depend with whatever happened in the first game, so they're really connected. That's why it's called Part 2 straight away.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So we see there's a connection from Part 1, and the story continues, which is good for any sequel. I believe for any sequel, it's always good to continue from the story from the first game. Or and so that's encouraging. My next question, bro. Does the gameplay feel as fluid as it looked in the early trailer?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, the first gameplay trailer they showed was E3 2018. It felt a bit cinematic, and some things were cinematic.
Yeah.
But everything that we were shown carries on to the base game. We see Ellie. She's fast. She's faster than Joel. Like the first game, Joel felt like a tank, like a big guy moving slowly. But when he punches someone, you can feel the punch.
Right.
Ellie is light. She's smaller than Joel. She can run fast, dash through. She can squeeze through crevices. She can go prone, hide under vehicles. All of that. And the another gameplay feature they showed was all the enemies have names, and they'll call out to each other, like for like example Emily, the enemy NPC, you just maybe have her for one area that you could try and go through,
Yeah.
but if you like kill Emily, and if the enemies find her, they'll be like, oh, hey, they got Emily. Like all the NPCs have names.
Yeah.
Now that's one of the other things that really didn't connect, because they want you to feel bad for killing these people,
Yeah.
but like these people are also trying to kill you. So that was one
Right.
gameplay feature that didn't really stick out. But from what they showed initially, it's all there. It's all there.
Yeah.
The animations, the all it feels fluid. I think we're gonna go into gameplay a bit more later
Yeah.
on, so I'll hold more thoughts for that.
Yeah, and I guess that was something that was quite prominent about the sequel for The Last of Us, is just the gameplay mechanics and how much detail and effort the developers put into kind of personalizing the characters, even the NPCs. And yeah, just speaking, let's talk more on gameplay mechanics. What are some of the changes in the sequel compared to the first game?
Sure thing. So first of all, I'm a huge stealth action fan. Like
Yeah.
I grew up with Splinter Cell, so one of the things I really liked about the first game was the survival mechanics, right? You only have limited resources,
Yeah.
you craft what you can, and you just want to get through to the end of the area you're trying to get through with whatever you have.
Right. Yeah.
And that still carries on over from the first game. Crafting is much more simplified, much more faster.
Yeah.
uh, the training manuals from the first game returns. Training manuals where you find out and you find one, and then it like unlocks a level up branch that you can use the pills you find in the game and level up your character that way. That's also there. Now the differences between the first game and the second game is, as I said before,
Yeah.
Ellie is much faster. She's
Right.
deadly. Like she's really, I feel like she's more deadly than Joel,
Yeah.
because she can get through places quickly. She can dash quickly. She's much more faster.
Yeah.
But the point she gets weak is when if you go to toe to toe with someone, Ellie is a bit weaker because she only has a knife, a switchblade that she had from the first game,
Right.
and it takes a lot of hits than it did for Joel, because Joel would just crush a guy, right?
Right.
That's one difference. Now there's grass. Ellie can go prone. She can crawl around everywhere, and I love doing this because
Yeah.
you can crawl around and the enemies will be swarming around you, and you can just hide in plain sight unless they get too close. But you can hide in plain sight, and you feel like you feel dangerous. You feel like you actually have a chance against these people.
Yeah.
So that's fun. A new addition is the dogs. When they first showed the dogs, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to kill any dogs. But
Yeah.
man, once I was playing the game, man, screw these dogs. Like screw the. Like, you'll be perfectly hidden somewhere. You'll
Yeah.
be perfectly hidden, and they'll just pick up your scent like that,
Yeah.
and you're like, now I gotta change my whole. I had a whole plan.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Yeah. So you
It's
have
all
to
gone
change,
because
like,
I gotta
your-
run away from
You
here.
have to change like your whole tactics with the dogs around, because that's something that was missing in the first game, right?
Yeah, there were no animals in the first game.
Yeah.
So this one is like this one is just, it changes up the tactics. You gotta move. And another thing they did is now they have sections where there's human enemies and infected at the same time, and I don't recall the first game ever doing it. So now you can like pit the infected against the human enemies and
Yeah.
like pick off whatever's left. But it's so chaotic
Yeah.
that you might get caught up in the middle, so it's also dangerous for you. So
Right.
yeah, a lot of small change. Like, they seem small, but when you're playing it, it just feels it feels like it's a different game. It's a much better game. From just being able to like break glass and get in
Yeah.
through a window, or like just crawl through a small space, or just get between up high, and areas are not just like on a same plane anymore.
Yeah.
You got enemies up above, you got enemies down below, you got enemies on your level, and
Yeah.
you keep finding ways to move around and making sure you don't get caught, because if you get caught, then it's a firefight, and it consumes more resources that you don't really want to waste, unless you like run into something big in the next, like as you keep going on. So a lot
Yeah.
of things like that keep the gameplay fresh from the first game. I think the gameplay is improved like significantly.
Yeah.
If the gameplay wasn't as good, like I might have not been able to go just depending on the story, you know. So I think the gameplay is really
Yeah.
solid in this one.
Right, so I've heard a lot of talk about the detail in the game and the characters and the NPCs as well, and you kind of delved in that in detail in our previous question, but I'm just gonna divert my next question just a little bit. Let's talk about her takedowns and just how graphic and how good they look. Just run me through that quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely very violent.
Yeah,
A lot of blood. And it's not once you even grab someone, there's like the tension is there, or somebody might see you. You gotta kill. You gotta take out this person quickly.
yeah,
And when you do it, it's kind of slow at first. You know,
yeah,
it's like the person is struggling, and Ellie's like just has a knife in the person's neck, and you can literally see the life leaving their eyes if you could get the camera put
you
on
almost
the
feel
face.
guilty as well.
It is surreal.
Yeah,
It's like I don't want to do this, but I have to because you do the same to me. It's one of those things, and the facial animations they're incredible. Everything's been mocap. The dogs, the people, everything. The voice acting's really good.
yeah,
Uh, it is a violent game, and you can even kill them even more violently. You know,
right.
like shotgun to the face, blow their whole head off,
Yeah,
or you make a melee weapon, just like stick a bunch of scissors on it and just like bash their heads in. It's it gets like really violent, more violent than the first one.
and I think that also adds to the authenticity of the continuation of the story, and just seeing how Ellie has progressed from the first game where she was this scared little girl, inexperienced, and just finding out about um, all the things that she was going to go through and experiencing things for the first time, and in the sequel
Yeah,
we see her as this trained assassin who's been through all the the struggles, who's been through all the fights and the emotional stresses of living in a world where it's been overrun by zombies, and we see her kind of more prepared and just killing without mercy just to survive basically, and I believe that really keeps true to
yeah,
the story and what makes it so real, and makes gamers really
yeah.
enjoy the sequel.
True, because Ellie. I think Ellie didn't really kill a whole lot of people in the first game. Some
Yeah,
light spoilers from the first game. You do get to play as Ellie for a little bit,
yeah,
and she does have to go against a few humans.
yeah,
But like and she has the first emotional scene of like actually violently killing someone in that game.
yeah,
So and Ellie was born into this world, right? She doesn't really know how the old world was from
yeah,
other than what other people have told Ellie. So and right now in this game, Ellie is also very angry. She's I think she's like 19
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
in The Last of Us II.
yeah,
So she's very young. She's very naive. She's very cocky, like she was from the first game, and she's like really pissed off. So and the violence is fitting into the narrative, right? It's the story they want to tell. It's like she's just killing these people, and there are consequences to everything you do. So yeah, it's the characters make choices. Uh, to make choices that you will never agree with,
yeah,
but it's the choices they are making, and you have to accept it. It's kind of their way. Can be frustrating for some people. I can see that, but
right,
yeah. But this is Ellie's story, right? Like the first one was Joel's story of loving again after
right,
everything that
right, yeah.
happened. So yeah.
Right. So, what's your take on the overall design of The Last of Us 2?
Overall design, I think the gameplay is really solid. I love the gameplay. I think it's one of my favorite gameplay designs ever.
Yeah,
The world is beautiful. Like the art design, like I mean, it's a post-apocalyptic world, right? We've seen so many zombie films, so
yeah,
many zombie
yeah,
games. Like like Earth has retaken the Earth, like I mean the nature has reclaimed the Earth and everything.
Yeah.
But there's some really incredible visuals. Like you'll go to areas and you'll be like, wow, like how do you think of these things? Like
Yeah.
so, and there's one thing I didn't talk about. It's the environmental storytelling.
Right.
There was a quite a bit in the first one. This one is just a whole another level.
Yeah.
You enter a building and you can find notes written by the people who used to be there, and there's just a small story you can follow just on the side if you want. It's there. You can, and some really like holy shit kind of stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all there. And the narratively, now the narrative's the biggest thing people will disagree on, because like any mediums, like movies, books, everything, they're made for us to feel some kind of emotion or take something away from it. The Last of Us 2, everyone's gonna feel something different, I think. Most of it's gonna be anger, most of it's going to be like you don't know how you feel.
Yeah.
But I feel like the pacing is quite well. This game is designed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It will make you squeamish. You will not like the things you see, but
Yeah.
then there are moments that are just very sweet, and like there's some hope in this world. Otherwise, in a bleak, like it's a bleak future, right? It's humans can't trust each other. It's infected around. So the narrative, I think, is kind of the biggest thing that's gonna be controversial for some. I'm liking the story. I'm liking the gameplay much more, and
Yeah.
the performances, like you said, Ellie's Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie in the game,
Yeah.
she's just great. She's
Yeah.
just, oh man, if you thought Ellie was great in the first game, she's just phenomenal here.
Right.
And the new characters are good as well. Actually, one of my favorite actors, his name is Jeffrey Wright. He's also in the game. He's from Westworld. I didn't know
Wow.
even he was there.
Yeah.
So there's a big cast of characters here, bigger than the first game, I would say. And the character models, they look incredible. Like it's not like the Uncanny Valley, but like
Right.
there's some shots of you just see Ellie just looking at the camera or in front of the camera, and she looks like incredible. Like the features, if she got hurt, the scars or any like wounds on her, it's all so wonderfully done.
Right.
And yeah, just so many moments. Overall, I think the game is great. I
Yeah.
think as you might have known, like online, there's a lot of negativity about this game.
Yes. Yeah.
It's and it's really hard to have a good conversation without people who have either not played the game or think all the reviews are paid or whatever their reasons are. I
Yeah.
can't attest to it, but personally, I think this is a very solid game. I think
Yeah.
Naughty Dog, this is like the best piece of work from Naughty Dog, and I love Uncharted.
Right.
I love Uncharted 2 and especially Uncharted 4,
Yeah.
and also The Last of Us first one. But I think this is like their highs of the highs as they can go,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to see what they do next. And
Yeah.
as for everything else, yeah, that's my general thoughts on the overall design
Right.
of the game.
Awesome, man. So just like you talking about game critics and reviews and stuff. Just looking at the current reviews, it would be hard to find any fault in the game. But are there any based on your experience so far?
Okay, so the shortcomings of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there are some pacing issues, definitely. Not many. And another thing, as I was talking about earlier, the game kind of wants you to feel bad about killing people, but sometimes I also feels like the narrative doesn't really hit. And I've seen other people also talk about it,
Right.
reviewers in general. Like you kill someone and they cry out in pain, like, oh no, they got my friend Emily, and I'm like, like I gotta kill the next guy as soon as possible because
Yeah.
this is getting stressful, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a bleak world, and it's hard to feel bad about doing bad things to other bad people who want to do bad things to you.
Right.
So
Right.
so there's still like a sort of like it's like a gap in between that it's like it's not a black and white world. It's such a gray world, and that just feels like such a black and white feature they wanted to add. I mean, it's really immersive. If it's really immersive, but it didn't make me feel horrible for the things I was doing, because I was all like me playing as Ellie was just trying to survive.
Right. All right. So for those, I know
That's pretty much.
there's a very small percentage of our gaming community here who haven't played the Last of Us series at all. Um, and just for the sake of them, those who are intending to actually get started on the series, what would you want them to know before playing it?
All right. Well, first of all, as I said, it's not a very it's a very bleak world they have made here.
Yeah.
It's violent. It's tough. The characters in the game have to make some tough choices. Not always the right ones. They don't always learn. It's a survival horror game first and foremost. It's not like Uncharted. You can't jump around everywhere. It's a bit slower. The story is much more slower. It's not a fun action game. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
There's also horror elements. If those things freak you out, you
Yeah.
might have a tough time, because oh man, like especially in the second one, there's a lot of jump scares, and some really got to playing at night. Like this, yeah, because I didn't even talk much about the infected. The infected are great in the second one.
Yeah.
They're so creepy, and the sounds they make, even while you're just out in the world,
Yeah.
you'll just hear the forest creak. You'll hear the wood, the tree branches creak, and you're like, is there something out there? Because the sound design's amazing. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not a fan of horror, it might be a bit tough for you if you can't handle anything horror. So there's another thing. And the one thing you should know is this is definitely a story that is the Naughty Dog wants to tell a story, and and they're doing it in a certain way. You have to kind of accept that. If you can't, then you won't enjoy the game, I would say. And it plays well. I know there was a lot of complaints about the first game not having the most solid combat. I personally really liked it, because I like sneaking around. I like getting through by the skin of your teeth, like just at the last session, like the last guy, like having one bullet and like finishing the guy off, and you're like, holy, like I got through that. I got through that fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so basically, yeah, that's all you need to know. Just know you're in for a ride, and
Yeah.
and I hope you like it. And if you haven't played the first game, please do so before you play the second one.
Yeah.
You really need to play the first game to get anything out of the second game. That's how I feel. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually have a lot of friends who are playing part one again. I have the game. I'm probably going to get started on that tonight, just to kind of get myself refreshed on the story, and before I get the sequel, and just continue from there, just see how it's grown. And yeah, it's exciting, man. All right, my final question, bro. Anything else other than the spoilers,
All right.
of course, regarding the game so far?
Anything else? Nah, I just gonna some of my all the thoughts I've put out there is it's a fantastic game. Take your
Right.
time with it if you do play it. If you're a fan of the series, like when they first announced it, like, oh, there's a Last of Us Part 2 coming, I asked myself, do I really want a sequel? Because
Right.
to me, the first one ended so perfectly. It
Right,
was
yeah.
like the perfect story. And I was like, do I want to go back to these characters and like definitely see them do more things they had to go through the first game? And I'm not sure if I'm still convinced it needed a part 2, but how they're doing it with the level of productions and the care and the characters, I feel like, yeah, I mean, if they wanted to tell the story there, they are telling it. So
Right.
my final thoughts are, you know what, play the game, on all the online stuff, It's just take it with a grain of salt. Like a lot of people are usually mad without any reason.
Yeah.
Play the game, decide for yourself. But if you haven't played the first one, I like recommend you go and play the first one, because I think the first one is just like perfect. I think the first game is just great.
Yeah.
So play the second one. It'll probably click with you. If it doesn't click with you, it's just how it is. It's like no one's fault. So
Right.
yeah, that's all.
Awesome, man. Hey, bro, thanks so much for your time. It was really,
Thanks for having me, man.
really encouraging and really great having you on as our first guest for the show. All right, so there you have it. We got some good stuff from Mac. Thank you once again, Mac, for agreeing to do the interview and really great insights on The Last of Us II. Hopefully this will convince you that this is one of the games that you have to play, and it is such a great story from part 1 to the sequel now, and just the detail and just showing how much the characters have evolved and grown. And that's just the thing I love about gaming is the story. Like with this, The Last of Us is one of the great RPGs of all time. I reckon one of the greats, and so I highly recommend that you get on that hype train and play that game. It has some really great reviews. We hope to bring you more content like this. We will see you on the next episode. In the meantime, let's go!
You